according to the WHO, World Health Organization, over 700,000 people commit suicide every year, okay? For each one of those deaths, about 20 people unsuccessfully, fortunately, attempt suicide on an annual basis. Globally, suicide is the third leading cause of death among young people between the ages of 15 and 29. So unfortunately, this phenomenon is happening at a much higher rate among younger generations. And I will get to some of the reasons behind that in a little bit. Over 49,300 people died from suicide in the U.S. in 2023 from suicide. So that's about one death for suicide every 11 minutes, okay? It is among the leading cause of death in the U.S. in 2023. It outnumbered homicides on a 2-to-1 ratio. So it's a very critical and important issue because people suffer silently from this phenomenon. Suicide was the 11th leading cause of death overall in 2023, right here in the U.S., right? In the States, so we're getting into the U.S. data before I was talking about it globally. In the U.S., it's the second leading cause of death between individuals between 10 and 34 years of age, and it was the fourth leading cause of death of individuals between the ages of 35 to 44. Those are U.S. statistics. Males, unfortunately, make up about 80% of suicidal deaths in the U.S., though they only account for, well, I shouldn't say only, but they account for about half of the U.S. population. But their suicide rates are 80%, right? The vast majority, about 5.5% of U.S. adults had serious suicidal thoughts in 2024. This, which does not surprise me, adults who identify as having two or more races, or somebody who is biracial or multiracial, have the highest rates of suicidal thoughts at about 10.7%. Across African and diasporic communities, unfortunately, suicide is often very much so underreported or misclassified due to either religious, legal, or cultural taboos, right? So it's not that it doesn't exist within our community, because it does. You will see, I didn't put this data here because I'm specifically focusing on the African diaspora, but the rates are actually higher among white people according to the information that is available. But of course, we also have to account for the unreported amounts of suicide that happen within our communities globally. So not just here in the U.S., and also the underreporting of it, even when it is amongst us, because there's a lot of trauma and nuances in our healthcare system as well. Research shows that marginalized and displaced communities face a higher risk of suicidal ideation. So even though the rates may not be showing up data-wise as far as African or African diaspora communities actually committing suicide, we do have very high rates of suicidal ideation, which ultimately means people are thinking about it. They are, ruminating over whether they should or should not attempt suicide. This is especially, of course, due to the racism, the historical trauma that we've endured due to racism, cultural disconnection. Our identity has been taken away from us. And that's a major part of why people even experience a lot of these suicidal thoughts and things of this nature. Unfortunately, Black Americans have seen one of the highest or the fastest increase in suicidal rates in recent years. Though we are still below the average, our rates are going up pretty drastically, especially among youth between 10 to 24 years old. It's been about a 37% increase in that particular area. So guys, definitely watch the young ones, talk to them, have conversations, and focus on them. Let's get to looking at some of the causes of suicide, because this is very important in understanding how to prevent it, obviously. So many suicides occur when people face overwhelming life challenges and things of that nature. So a lot of times with relationships, with job loss, with financial hardships or chronic illness. A lot of times people end up taking their lives through those measures. And chronic illness is actually coming up among the ranks even more so than, financial problems or relational problems, because a lot of people are sick, unfortunately, in today's world, and they are suffering tremendously through chronic illnesses, physical illnesses, mental illnesses, and otherwise, unfortunately. Trauma from abuse, violence, neglect. So somebody's going through these things, pay attention to them if they're suffering from chronic abuse, because all of those things lead down the same road. People are normally, they suffer in silence and they don't say anything. And then before you know it, they're no longer here, unfortunately, okay? Because it can create so much long-term trauma. Mental health crises. This is definitely contributing to the growing rates of suicide globally.